Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Carmen McGuinness, and on this channel we discuss relationships of all sorts, including what I call the primary relationship, which is the relationship that we have with ourselves. I am a board-certified behavior analyst and health psychologist, and today I am here to talk to you about whether or not your particular anger is justified. So usually in my Sunday talks, what happens is that some event in my personal life with friends and family or in my clinical environment will inspire a particular talk midweek. This one has been sort of brewing for a while. This has been a theme that I've been noticing for a while, but I had other things stacked up, so just getting around to it now, and I think it's very important. I'm going to try to use a lot of different examples in this because this can come from anywhere. You know, we all have anger, and let's just jump into my talk here. So, anger is normal. It's an emotion that serves several functions, and we're going to go through them first before we get into whether or not your particular anger is justified. Anger might let our brains know what to think. In this case, our body feels it first. It might be the heart area where we feel it, or the gut. I know for me it can be both, either. And sometimes also in the throat area, and that usually happens when we're angry and there's something we really feel we need to say or even think. That can show up in the throat area as well because it's around words. And that signals the brain to devise a narrative around how we're feeling. Literally, how you feel in your body tells you the words to describe it in your mind. Or anger might start in our mind. We know in our mind that we should be angry, and so we start to write the narrative around that first thought. If held too long, this also works its way to our body. More of that heart or gut or throat thing that I was talking about, but less with the throat because you've now written the narrative. Another function of anger, no matter whether it starts in your body or your mind, is to keep you safe from repeating all the things that led up to you being angry, which is of great importance and very helpful, of course. But that's only if you had something to do with the events that led up to your anger. So, for instance, you date an emotionally vacant sort of person. You fall in love, probably because you make up 98% of the relationship. You get married, you have a child, your partner is emotionally unavailable for your child, of course, and now you're angry. Finally, ta-da, your anger will keep you safe from doing that again, hopefully. Versus, here's another one. You discover at age 50 that you were adopted by your stepfather, who you always believed to be your biological father. Both your mom and dad, the one who raised you, are dead. You did nothing in this scenario. Can't really blame yourself. So there are two scenarios. One where you can share the blame and one where you did nothing. The second one might actually be more difficult because now you can also be a victim. When we have absolutely no control over what was done to us or around us, we can feel very vulnerable going forward. The world can be a scary place. In the first scenario above, we might be angry with ourselves too, not just the other person because we married this emotionally vacant person. But at least we have some control over our future. We need to learn from our mistake, forgive ourselves, and learn to trust our own judgments again. In the second scenario above, we might question our entire reality. What else in my life is a fairy tale? If my parents could lie to me for all those years, who else is deceiving me? Or who else has deceived me? What else about my life isn't true? We're going to go into whether your anger is justified, but first some considerations before you let yourself hold on to anger. If you hold anger in for too long, it will build up to much more anger than it probably should be. Emotions are personal, yes. What the other person did was a catalyst, but the feeling that results is yours. It's literally on you, on your body, on your mind. Consider how it affects you, your mind, body, and spirit. Anger takes time and drains energy. It breeds cortisol, which can make us overweight and unhealthy. Anger releases all kinds of negative hormones and manifests over time, so it can really drag itself out if we don't figure it out and release it. Now, with all that underpinning the rest of my talk, we ask the question, is your anger justified? Some considerations. Is your anger specific or is it generalized? In other words, are you angry with him or her for a particular event or situation, or is it something else that you can't recall or that you're denying? Case in point, Jennifer, whose husband was cheating, but she didn't know. Or did she? Because the couple came into therapy to get help managing Jen's anger. That was what brought them in my doors. After 2 months, it was on the table in the therapy room that Jen's husband had been unfaithful with a woman at work for nearly 2 years. Another case in point was Jose, whose second wife was mistreating his 2 children. Things like giving her own kids the better clothes, better lunchbox contents, more attention, letting them choose the television station, TV shows, what outings to go on, etc. Jose was irritable with his wife all the time. No wonder, right? But it wasn't so obvious to him as to you and me, not until family therapy uncovered it. So my question for you is there something under the surface that you kind of sort of know but aren't dealing with, and your anger is generalizing? So here's another question for you. Is your anger directed at the right person? Dan was furious at his ex-wife for provoking that's his word, provoking his current wife about events that occurred during their shared parenting plan. But he was avoiding dealing with the actual events, letting the 2 women sort it out. When he divorced his second wife, he blamed her for everything he'd learned in family therapy about the events that had occurred during shared parenting, but he also blamed his first wife for provoking his second wife and, as he put it, turning her into a bad person as well. He had lots of people to be mad at, and he was completely off the hook because he had all these people to be mad at. So are you directing your anger at the right person? Terry, here's another example, was mad at his mother for leaving the family home and moving 2 states away. But he never considered the part that his workaholic father played in driving his mother away, and so far away, and for so long. Terry's father, you see, was a wealthy man who fought his wife in court when she filed for divorce. She fought for temporary relief while she got back to her nursing career and requalified at the higher levels that were now required for her old job, and he fought her on all of that. No temporary relief from a wealthy man. So Terry grew up angry with his mother, not really considering what was going on behind the scenes. In the end, Mom had to take a job where she could, and she found one at a university hospital that also paid for her coursework, all 2 states away. Put yourself in the other person's perspective when you feel anger. If you really cannot imagine ever doing what he did or she did, then maybe you're justified. If from his or her perspective it feels like he or she did the best that they could, like Terry's mom, then maybe you should consider forgiving them. There's also the you get to be you approach to anger. Examples: your husband leaves you, for instance, or your best friend opts out of chemotherapy to just die naturally. It is, after all, their life. Yes, it might involve you, and heavily, perhaps. You might need to learn to be without them, to be you without them. And I'll put up a link for some suggestions on that here. And forgiveness is the third way. You can be angry and forgive. It is possible to do that. This is the middle path. Though I really like the use of the term the third way, because it sounds less like a compromise and more like an alternative path. Maybe you just need to accept your emotion and stop holding it back. Let the process unfold. That might be necessary before you can choose the third way. Anger is often about truth. But I also always advise that we consider value as well. How much is that person you're mad at worth? What is your peace of mind worth? How much is anger worth to you? And if it's worth a lot, you might want to ask yourself the following and final question: what does this anger mean about me? And this is a common thread in my videos. You've heard me ask this question before. When things kind of get pear-shaped, I always ask, well, what does this mean about me? Or if I'm helping a friend or a client, what does this mean about you? For instance, I'm not going to be hurt again is a common theme that I hear. That's what it means about me. Okay, but you need to be angry to accomplish that? If so, why? Maybe there's a boundary issue, and maybe that's what it means about you. Does it require anger for you to draw boundaries? If so, why? And what does that mean about you? Were you allowed to have boundaries as a child? How did that manifest? For instance, some parents meet boundaries with harsh discipline or by withholding love or affection. So I think I've given you quite a lot here, and I'm going to end it here because I don't want to make this too long today. I'll be doing a talk on forming boundaries very soon, and I'll put up several links on this video that might help with some of the side things that I discussed along the way. I hope you have a peaceful day and week. I'll be traveling this coming Wednesday, so I'll see you on Thursday for my midweek sneak peek. Until then, have a wonderful, safe week, and I will see you soon. If you're interested in the topic in this video or other topics on my YouTube channel, please go to my website, tippittytap.net, where you can purchase corresponding chapters in my book, Raising Your Inner Child. Each chapter has worksheets and other activities to help you expand in this area. The book will be releasing in the summer of 2019, late in the summer, in print version as well, but for now you can download a chapter at a time at 50 cents a chapter